Obaseki and Philip Shaibu both sworn in today as we return to the helms of affairs as Governor and Deputy Governor of Edo State. We speak to the Governor, Obaseki, tonight on his plans on his second term in office. And Ghanaian leader Jerry Rawlings is dead. The former president died today at the age of 73. Hello everyone and welcome to Politics Today on Channel Television. I'm Sean Baloye. Our neighboring country, Ghana, is mourning. Ghana's former president Jerry Rawlings has died at the age of 73. The former president and military ruler Jerry Rawlings, the former president, died at a state hospital in capital Accra at the age of 73. Ghana's president Nana Akufo-Addo has declared 7 days of mourning following the death of the former president and military ruler. President Buhari here in Nigeria has reached out to Ghana and his people. He says, quote, the passion, discipline, and moral strength that the former Ghanaian leader employed to reposition his country over many years continue to reverberate across the continent and beyond, end of quote. And now to Nigerian politics. The River State Governor, Nyesom Wike, has hit at the ruling All Progressives Congress APC. He says the situation of Nigeria is worse off under the All Progressives Congress-led government, insisting that the APC has failed the country. Governor Wike says the APC has reneged on the electoral promises they made.
APC has failed Nigerians. Why you see more people rebelling in the APC is going to be shame. But those who have hearts, who believe in this country, watch what will happen. Nobody's interested in APC. What are you going to tell us again? What will APC tell Nigerians? They will do this, excuses. They will do that, excuses. Somebody will not put to bed, it's PDP. Somebody has not eaten, it is what? PDP. You knew these problems were there. And you came and told Nigerians, as we come, we are going to change all these things. And things will be better. Are things better today? No.
I, Comrade Philip Shaibu,
do solemnly swear and affirm that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Federal Republic of Nigeria as Deputy Governor of Edo State. So help me God.
I, Godwin Norerase Obaseki,
do
solemnly swear
and affirm that I will be faithful
and
bear true allegiance to the Federal Republic of Nigeria and that I will devote myself to the service and well-being of the people of Nigeria. So help me God.
Governor of Edo State, Godwin Obaseki, and his deputy Philip Shaibu have begun a second-term journey in Edo State today after they were sworn in Benin City, the Edo State capital, by the Chief Judge of the State, Justice Esther Edigan. The swearing-in at the Samuel Ogbemudia Stadium in Benin City was witnessed by a large number of dignitaries, including PDP governors, party chieftains, and citizens of the state. Governor Obaseki said his party's victory in the September the 20th election offers an opportunity for his administration to bridge the gap between the past and the future. So tonight we'll focus on the agenda, or the second-term agenda of Governor Obaseki. And we're being joined from Benin City by Governor Obaseki, who has today gotten the mantle of leadership for a second term. Congratulations, Governor Obaseki, on your inauguration today for a second term in office.
Thank you very much, Sheung.
I really appreciate.
We watched the moment your ADC slumped when you were giving your speech. We did think that is okay, but let's ask you, well, that's the moment there, but let's ask, how is he now?
He's fine. He's been responding to treatment. I think he was a bit exhausted.
Oh, great. It's good to hear that he's better now. So let's begin the conversation around, this is your second quote and unquote missionary journey as the leader and the governor of the state. But in the first place, let's look at the first 100 days. What would you say is utmost or perhaps your immediate focus in the first 100 days?
Thank you, Shu. We've had the benefit of experience and knowledge of how government works in the first 4 years. And clearly for us, the priority for us for the new administration is to focus on the civil service, because that's the engine of government. All the promises we have made will not come to fruition if we do not get the civil service working again. If we do not get it optimal and to efficiently deliver services and our programs to our people, particularly at the local government level, the bureaucracy at the local government levels and the state has to be optimal. So immediately I'm embarking on hiring more professional and core to fill the core positions in the civil service. We are not likely to continue with the situation today we have, where there are more political appointees than civil servants to run the state, because it's quite disruptive. We've been fortunate that we identified this problem earlier, and we've been working on the background, improving the systems, processes of the civil service. We have built the capacity to train civil servants to the highest levels. We actually have established the Chief John Odigio Oyego Public Service Academy that has a lot of digital investments that will focus on building capacity in the civil service. So within the next 400 days, we expect to see a whole reform commence with hiring new professionals and into the civil service, beginning to train the existing ones, make sure we bring much more younger people in the service to reduce the average age from about 47 to something much lower, and to just get people to begin to believe that government is there to work for them.
So, I mean, with this plan that you have, what is your projection of how many of your people will get employment within these 100 days? And which sector, is it the education sector, or which sector exactly would you be focusing on precisely?
We are focusing on the public service. We've commenced the screening for new teachers. We expect to hire about 3,000 of them. I'm working on hiring new civil servants. The adverts are out for almost 1,000. But we believe the jobs will come from the agri sector. As I speak, we have actually allocated almost 40,000 hectares of land for oil palm cultivation. The investors are on site, they are preparing the land. They're bringing in seedlings. So we see quite a lot of jobs being created in the agri sector. We're also giving incentives to farmers to produce, particularly for the holiday seasons, to produce poultry products, to produce beef, grains. Unfortunately, we suffered some bit of flooding in our rice plain, but the farmers are back. We're doing grains. So we see a lot of excitement and a lot of opportunities in the agri sector. And also, we're seeing a lot of investments coming into the digital space. A lot of young people working in an innovation hub are getting jobs because everybody is now connected. Most people are now connected somewhat since coronavirus. So we've seen a lot of our younger people being employed in the technology space, developing products, supporting existing technologies. So we believe that we'll have, or we'll be seeing jobs being created from services, from government, and from agriculture.
For a moment, let's look at the issues of governance now, because you mentioned that there seems to be more government appointees, appointments, and you want to focus on getting people into the civil service. So it then brings me to the point we saw in Lagos, where the Lagos governor announced that he's going to repeal the pension law for benefits for governors, former governors, and deputy. Is Edo State looking in that direction also in cutting costs of governance?
Just looking at those costs, they're not something that is limiting our capacity to function as a state. The emoluments to former political office holders are not that much in Edo, so it will not be priority for me.
Okay, so let's look at some of the issues that have come in the last few days. Perhaps the issue of NSAS protests and the aftermath as a hit at most states of the Federation. Your state was heavily hit by the aftermath and some of the disruptions we saw. What is your approach in tackling the seeming agitation in young people, especially in Edo State?
I think you must understand the breakout of and the direction the NSAS protest took in Edo. For us as a government, we've always made our position clear. We believe that the protests, the issues being raised by the young people, is legitimate and need to be addressed. Police brutality is real, and we need to talk about them. So we don't have any issues with the agitation of these young men and women. But what happened in the case of Edo, don't forget that we had just gone through elections, and a lot of thugs and criminals had been procured. Fortunately and thankfully to God, many of them could not deploy or utilize the arms which they had brought in. Quite a few of them had been arrested and put in the jail. And so the first reaction was not to burn, was not government buildings, was to go to the prisons to break the jails. The two correctional centers we have in Benin City were broken into, the inmates released, and records burnt. So that was just sheer criminality. And don't forget that it was one of the electoral issues, dealing with lions and tigers in our system. And these people, unfortunately, had a free day to go in there to get to release their colleagues who had been incarcerated. I want to thank the Inspector General of Police and the Controller General of the Prison Services. We fortunately have all their records. We recovered them, and we are now in a manhunt for most of them, for them, and we believe that we will get them all back in. But to address the issue of the protest and attack on warehouses and food banks, here again, unfortunately, we had distributed most of the relief materials we had to support COVID. We had a few items left in reserve for flood victims and emergencies, and which were stored with our medical in our medical stores with other medicines, vaccines, and equipment. And those were vandalized. We've done the preliminary estimates for those. They go into the hundreds of millions, almost $1 billion. But more worrisome are the police installations that were burnt. About 6 police stations were burnt and arms scattered away. We had the prisons, the correctional services, as I said, burnt. We've sent contractors in there, and they have completed the cleanup and resecured those facilities.
All right, we'll take a break, but when we come back, we'll be looking into other issues of governance and perhaps the issues of politics also, Governor Obaseki, especially when you say, for your kith and kin, how you're going to reunite the state and chart a way forward. We'll look into that after this break. Don't go anywhere, everyone. We'll be right back. Thank you so much, everyone. Let's continue our conversation with Governor Godwin Obaseki, who has just gotten the mandate to continue to govern the people of Edo State after he was inaugurated today in Benin City. He's with us from Benin City. So let's get back to the conversation, Governor Obaseki. And one of the people who have congratulated you today is the governor of Delta State, your neighbors there in the South region. He said, and I quote, "I urge you to make the tenure more beneficial to the people," end of quote. But poverty incidents in Edo State are fairly higher than the South in the South zone region on the average, with urban poverty share at about 80% and rural poverty share at about 20%. How do you hope to turn around this scenario in your second term?
Yes, Shehu, if more people are unemployed in the cities than in the rural areas, it just makes sense to now begin to move people, encourage people to move to where the jobs are. The new jobs are going to be created in agriculture, as I said. We're getting more in companies, large companies, to invest in commercial agriculture. And the hope is that as we work with these companies, build infrastructure, open up the rural areas, create new cities, it will be attractive for younger people to go into the rural areas to work and live there. What has happened over the last several decades is because of a neglect of rural areas, the lack of amenities, the lack of good schools and health facilities, most people from what we used to call villages started coming in to the city and living on the fringe of the city. You could see, one of the local governments, for instance, Bubaka, which is the most populated local government, has most of the people or population there have just migrated from Orionmo and the Huonde axis. As we create more opportunities, we create large-scale farms and processing, there will be jobs, and we hope that we can get our people back to live where the jobs are.
Of course, I mean, I know a lot of people will be looking forward to the 100 days job that you have talked about earlier. But for a moment, we'll come back to the issue of governance. But there's another issue which you mentioned, very critical, is healing and the unity of the people of the state. You're very particular about that, and you're looking forward to working with every citizen, according to what you said in your speech earlier today. But as your friend and former national chairman of the APC, Adams Oshomole, reached out to you, or have you reached out to him since the election?
Well, he has not reached out to me, and I'm not surprised. I didn't expect him to, because that's not his nature. But I think the elections are over. The people of Edo State have spoken. And from what took place on September 19th, it's clear the decisions the people have made. And following on that, we have appealed to, the people on the other side. Fortunately, we know ourselves, we know them very well. And we actually campaigned on certain issues, and the people have bought into those issues. The campaign was that we should use more government resources for the benefit of the larger majority of the people. Yes, we will continue to appeal to them to see our point of view. The electorates have endorsed our point of view. Reconciliation does not mean going back to do the things they were advocating. Reconciliation should mean them joining us and supporting and believing, at least not disrupting, our own direction, the choices that our people have made. If they find certain things wrong in the way we are approaching our programs, yes, they can criticize. There's nothing wrong with that. That's democracy. But to insist that we should go back and do things the way they were proposing, or the way they have always done it in the past, will not lead to real healing. But we, as a government, are open. We have said we don't have any malice. We don't have any bitterness. The whole contestation was based on what we believe the people of Edo wanted. And we went to the polls, and the people spoke loud and clear. I believe what is now important is that they join us and be part of the new progress we are charting.
If Comrade Adams Oshiomhole has not reached out to you, is there a possibility, well, as a leader in the state, the governor, the #1 citizen, is there a possibility that you will reach out to him?
If I find out that he's required, that he has anything to contribute as a citizen of Edo, I'm sure I'll reach out to him. But at this point in time, I don't see the positive contribution he can make today.
What about your friend and your brother, Pastor Osage Izeyamu? Has he also reached out to you since after the election?
He hasn't reached out to me. I've said in very many public fora that there's no bitterness, that he should work with us. So that I expect him, if he reaches out to me, I'm sure we'll embrace him. And as I said, if he has anything positive to contribute to our government, we will welcome such contributions.
So briefly also, before we get back into the issue of governance, is on the issue and the political issues in the House of Assembly. There are the elected lawmakers on the other side, some of them who are loyal to Comrade Adams Oshiomhole. What are you doing in that regard? Are you hoping to bring them on board for their inauguration, or what are your plans in resolving some of the crises?
Well, it's quite unfortunate. I think a lot of them have now, learned that they were deceived, they were misdirected. I'm sure they're very sorry about the actions they have taken. I feel sad about it. But unfortunately, there's nothing I can do personally today. Those seats have been declared vacant as per the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Today, I swore an oath to uphold the Constitution. I cannot be seen to be violating it. The seats have been constitutionally declared vacant. The only two things that can happen, it's either the courts, decide otherwise, or the Independent Electoral Commission, INEC, conducts fresh by-elections, and they can come back and recontest. There's nothing I, as a governor of Edo State today, can do otherwise. This country is governed by the law and the Constitution. There is no political solution that will be above our Constitution.
I have just about 2 questions before we close the program, and I'd like Your Excellency to try to help tackle them quickly. One of the major problems faced by the Edo people is that of flooding. Any special action plan in the immediate in tackling this problem?
That's why I said we need a development plan. As we speak today, most towns in Edo State don't have any master plan. So people build the block drainages, contractors come in from the federal agencies, from other agencies. They construct roads without planning, linking it to existing plans or existing drainage systems. So very, very quickly, we have started the process of planning, making sure where we undertake strict development control, and so that we can halt the devastation in the environment, and then see how we can remedy the areas that are already devastated.
You seem, the way you spoke earlier on the program, you seem that you are going to cut down on the political appointees in your government because of the way you spoke. But in the area of inclusion, how many women are we expected to see that will be in your cabinet in your second term?
For my first term, we've placed a lot of emphasis on women, and this term around, it is not going to be different. I have said that at a minimum, out of every 3 employees coming into government, 1 must be a woman.
That's interesting. Governor Godwin Obaseki, Governor of Edo, said, "It's a pleasure talking to you, and we wish you a very, very wonderful and successful stay in your second term in office."
Thank you very much, Sheung, and thank you, members of staff and management of Channels Television. Thank you for your support.
Thank you, Governor Obaseki. But that's the chat there with Governor Godwin Obaseki, and that's the end of the show tonight. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I'm Sean Kimbaloe. Bye-bye.